Hello, my lovely anatomists and physiologists. Welcome back to another of our Chapter 10 videos. This video here is just a quick presentation on skeletal muscle functions. So remember, as we get into each body system, we have kind of like our basic level understanding, what we were able to understand as early as Chapter 1. And then as we investigate each one further, we go deeper, right? So when we talk about our skeletal muscle functions, we have, of course, the idea of contraction and cause movement. And I think it's important here to think about the skeletal muscle movement as like the body movements. So that's also kind of what we think of as voluntary muscle or voluntary movements. So we're consciously thinking about how we want to move the body, and then we move that body in that way. We also see as part of this movement, we can talk about maintaining posture. And a lot of times, we aren't consciously thinking about our posture. And so just to be clear, this is talking about things such as, ability to sit up in a chair, hold up our head. These are things that we learn as infants. And it's really, like a huge milestone when those little infants, in those first few months, 4, 5, 6 months, are starting to learn how to hold up their head and how to sit up. And that's super significant, such that, we don't think about that once we're, kind of aware of ourselves. It's just part of what we do. And as part of this, we can also say, resist gravity. So again, thinking about, if you've ever been around those little babies, thinking about how much effort it takes for them initially there to actually sit up and not just always be lying down. Another important job here is to maintain skeletal and joint stability. So we talked a little bit about how the skeletal muscle and the tendon was important in our joint structure, helping to stabilize that joint. And we'll see that, being the case in this conversation as well. We can also talk about skeletal muscle as guarding entrances and exits. So very often we have sphincters that are going to be located strategically. So we studied in our facial muscles, we have the orbicularis oculi around the eyeball. We have the orbicularis oris around the mouth. And then as we get into the pelvic floor, we'll see muscles associated with the urogenital area as well as the anal area. So this is going to be an important job of our skeletal muscle. We're also going to see that it's important in protecting internal organs. And it's doing this both as acting like an external barrier. We think mostly of our skin as being that external barrier. Underneath the skin, of course, we have that subcutaneous layer, and then we get the skeletal muscle. So it's very much giving this protection to our internal organs. And then it's also helping to support the weight of these organs. And for me, I really think about this feature mostly in my abdominopelvic area, right? Because in this part of my torso, there's very little skeleton. There's very little bone that's offering this kind of protection. We see that whole thoracic cage and the thoracic region, really offering this kind of protection and support, but we don't have that in the abdominopelvic cavity. And then the last feature that we can list here, the last function, is that the muscle is going to be important in generating heat. So in this regard, it is involved in our thermoregulation. So one thing we can do for our bodies when we're feeling a little chilly is just get up and move around. So we do know that contracting our muscle generates heat, and that's helping to maintain that body temperature. And then we do know that if we're not able to warm ourselves, then we'll begin to shiver. And so shivering is this function of the skeletal muscle contracting in order to generate heat for the body. Okay, stay tuned for the next video, looking a little bit more detailed at muscle anatomy. And as always, take care of yourselves and each other.